And right now we have a presentation on the topic of sustainability and the Arctic, a shared responsibility. For this, we're pleased to have with us the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Energy of the Government of Greenland, Mr. Steen Lynge.
Welcome to Greenland. The current pandemic has forced most of us to stay at home. So, depending upon where in the world you are, let me start by saying good morning, good afternoon, or perhaps good evening. My name is Steen Lynge and I am the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Energy in Greenland. During my presentation, I will take you through a short introduction to Greenland, then I will talk about climate change in Greenland and how it affects our livelihood. In the last part of my presentation, I will talk about Greenland contributes to slowing climate change. Not only do we have ambitious goals for our national green transition, Greenland has the resources, ambition and determination to be an important partner for companies who invest in renewable energy. Many of the essential rare earth minerals needed to be manufacture batteries or construct wind turbines are found in large quantities in Greenland. Further, Greenland have huge unexploited hydropower resources and the potential to become a leading exporter of renewable energy by producing hydrogen. So while climate change is very visible in Greenland, we are also part of the solution. Before I start talking about climate change and potential solutions in Greenland, let me start by introducing to my country. Combating climate change is a set task across generations, and I have invited my daughter Niviana to join me in this presentation.
You might already know that Greenland is the world's largest island, and our country is far up north and covered by the ice sheet year-round. Geographically, Greenland is part of the North American shelf, but part of the Kingdom of Denmark. Therefore, historically we are politically and economically closer to Denmark and Europe than North America. Our relationship with Denmark goes back more than several hundred years. In 1721, Greenland became a colony of Denmark, and it was not until 1953 that Greenland had its status renewed and became a constituency in the Danish kingdom. Partly due to the fast-growing modernization of the Greenlandic society, and partly due to general shifts in the political landscape in the 1970s. There was Greenlandic demands for greater economic and political independence. In 1979, we obtained Home Rule. Our journey towards political and economic independence has continued, and in 2009, the Greenland self-government replaced Home Rule government, but still as part of the Kingdom of Denmark. Today Greenland has its own government, Naalakkersuisut in Greenlandic, and Parliament Inatsisartut. A few policy areas remain within the Danish system and are yet to be taken home. Thus, in effect, these areas are effectuated through close dialogue with the Danish government. Greenland has a firm tradition of international cooperation, and we are actively participating in international affairs. As an Arctic nation with Nordic ties, we have many interlinked economic and trade interests. While Greenland is the world's largest island, we are still among the world's smallest nation. Fishery is by far our most important industry and export, but we are actively working to diversify our economy with a special focus on tourism, minerals and renewable energy.
Moving from Greenland to today's topic, sustainability and the Arctic, a shared responsibility. Our approach and understanding of sustainability is rooted in the triple bottom line approach. To be truly sustainable, we need to implement policies that balance the social, environmental and economic dimensions of sustainability. We need to address and solve the challenges of climate change while ensuring our social development without leaving an economic or environmental burden to our children or our children's children. If we work together and if we are innovative and we have to courage, we can overcome these challenges and create a better world for our children. Our generation, not only in Greenland but globally, is bound to tackle the challenges of climate change. We have an obligation to our children and to our planet. Man-made climate changes is a real threat to our planet and the well-being of future generations. Political leaders across borders agree upon this, and with the Paris Agreement, several countries has committed and other upon action. Since I was born in the first half of 1960s, the global average temperature has increased by 1 degree Celsius.
If I experience only half of that increase in temperatures in the next 30 years, scientists predict that we can reach a climate tipping point, where several Earth systems will suffer irreversible changes and damage. The UN has set down a high-level research group on climate change to advise world leaders on climate change and its consequences. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, or the IPCC, has a very clear message to everyone. Let me quote from IPCC's latest report. Climate-related risk to health, livelihoods, food security, water supply, human security, and economic growth are projected to increase with global warming of 1.5 degrees Celsius and increase further with 2 degrees Celsius. The message here is very clear. If we don't act, climate change will impact our livelihood regardless of where on the planet we live. Climate changes constitute a threat to our security and health. We have a huge and urgent task in front of us. Governments across the world are developing strategies to tackle these changes. A challenge we can only overcome if governments, industry, and civil society work together. Global climate changes is well documented in scientific reports and even made available for everyone with an internet connection. A visit to the US Space Agency, NASA's homepage, shows well-documented facts about climate change. Based upon satellite observations, NASA estimates that 428 billion metric tons of the world's ice sheet is lost every year. The sea level is rising with more than 3 centimeters every 10th year. The Greenlandic ice sheet alone is losing nearly 267 billion metric tons of ice per year. This development is accelerating. Globally, 19 of the 20 warmest years on record has occurred since 2001.
Global warming is, as the name suggests, a global problem. But the Arctic temperatures are rising faster than the global average, and the changes caused by warmer temperatures in Greenland are very visible. Most people have seen dramatic pictures on TV on the ice shelf that collapses and become huge icebergs. While this is actually a natural phenomenon, people in Greenland observe serious changes. In the northern part of Greenland, the loss of land-based ice has accelerated in recent decades. People sailing in North Greenland report about ice-free water during summers to an extent never seen before. The Arctic marine ecosystem and the communities that depend upon it continues to experience unparalleled changes as a result of warming air temperatures, declining sea ice and warming waters. Locally larger inflow of fresh water into fjords can result in rapid changes to the ecosystems, affecting the lives of fish and other life in our waters. These changes is today already affecting local communities who depend upon fishery for their livelihood. The rapid loss of multi-year ice and withdrawal of land-based ice is also influencing wildlife in Greenland. One of the most visible examples is polar bears, who are losing their natural habitats and hunting ground. Also, for people who is not directly depending upon nature for their livelihood, climate changes is a factor. In our capital Nuuk, warmer summers can influence our drinking water, and our utility company can be forced to face huge infrastructure investments as a result of this development. Combating global warming is a task we all have to contribute to. Let me elaborate on what we do in Greenland and how we, together with international organizations and investors, can become an important player to combat climate changes. The green transition is not new to Greenland. It has actually been going on for years and has been driven by cheaper prices upon renewable energy. Currently, 70% of public energy supply is based on renewable energy, and more than 80% of our country's electricity comes from renewable energy. In Greenland, hydropower is our main renewable energy resource. A core objective in our RE strategy sector plan for energy and water supply is to expand our use of renewable energy and establish a green energy supply wherever it is possible. By 2030, our public energy services will be based on renewable energy sources as close as we can get in Greenland. Another goal is to complete a modernization of the energy system so that energy production based on fossil fuels will be replaced by new energy technology, where this has not already been done. This is still a huge task in Greenland, as many private households depend upon fossil fuel for their heating and transport. As part of our renewable energy strategy, we are working towards financing and constructing further hydropower plants. These are both large-scale plants for towns, but also micro hydropower plants for the many settlements we have in Greenland. In 2019, the Parliament of Greenland voted in favor of government proposal regarding the construction of 2 new hydropower plants in Greenland. After building of these hydropower plants, it is estimated that 90% of public energy supply in Greenland will be based on renewable energy sources. But we are also testing several different renewable energy technologies. And contrary to what you might think of Greenland, here is the cold north. We also starting to exploit sun energy with success. Wind and solar power will be important to supply our small settlements with renewable energy. Greenland is home to the largest freshwater resource in the north. As a result of a warming world, the meltwater of the Greenlandic ice sheet are creating larger and growing reservoir capacities. thus increasing their hydropower potential. You could say that global warming has turned the Greenlandic ice sheet into the world's largest battery. Greenland's huge hydropower potential can be exploited commercially in connection with supplying energy to large industrial enterprises based on renewable energy. Not least as the power-to-X technologies becomes more mature, we believe that Greenland can actually become a huge energy exporter.
The green transition cannot take place without access to new minerals. New generations of rechargeable batteries or wind turbines calls for minerals, something we have plenty of in Greenland. We have large deposits with rare earths, with total resources of over 100 billion tons. The deposits are so large that it can bring Greenland all the way to the forefront of producing countries. That includes zinc, which is used in wind energy and in the next generation batteries. Copper, nickel and graphite are also some of the minerals that are being explored in Greenland and where there is great potential. Greenland has a strong focus on green technology and has a desire in the future as a producer to contribute to the green transition by supplying important minerals.
Last year, Greenland received a purchase offer, which we kindly refused. Greenland is not for sale, but Greenland is very much open for business, and we welcome foreign investments. I want to let this be my final input for today. Together we can, as global community, stop global warming. Greenland has huge potentials and can become an important player, but we can't do it on our own. We are open for business and we are open for international cooperation. Thank you for your attention.